Welcome to the first video tutorial on Word Chapter 1, creating, formatting, and editing a Word document with a picture. You can find this in the ebook. Just locate the appropriate chapter, Chapter 1, and we're attempting to create this flyer seen here on page WD3. So let's begin. Here is a new blank document, and the very first thing we're going to do is enter some text. The first thing we're going to type here is the word adventure and put an exclamation mark on that. Now that we've typed the word adventure, let's point out something. What if I make an error while I'm typing? I can press one of two keys, the backspace key or the delete key, but how do I know which one to press? So that's why I put an error in here on purpose, and let's see how I fix this. Now if I wanted to take out the W that I put in, what key do I press? The backspace key, because the backspace key will delete characters to your left, and the reverse would be true, but if I put the insertion point to the other side of the W and I press the delete key this time, it is the W that will come out. So backspace deletes characters to the left and the delete key deletes characters to the right. So I'm going to put back in the missing letter here in adventure, and let's move on to the next line. Now while we're still talking about fixing errors though, did you notice, or have you ever looked at your status bar and saw that there is a little character down here called the spelling and grammar check icon, and if you have errors it will have a X on it, and if you are okay, there's a check mark on it. Now let's talk about something else. There are funny little looking characters called formatting marks that you can turn on in your document. Some people choose not to use them, but here's the button that turns them on. It's a show hide button, and it shows on your document whenever you press the enter key, whenever you press the space bar, and even tab. So the little characters will show up on screen, but they do not print. Now I have a preference for not working with them on, so I'm going to turn them on, but these things are called formatting marks. Also, there's mention of a concept called word wrap, and it allows you to simply continue to type, and as you type, without having to press enter, word wrap is that feature that will loop the text to the next line as you go. So the only reason you type it, you need to press enter is to insert a blank line, to begin a new paragraph, to terminate a short line of text, and to advance or respond to a prompt on the screen, a little window that might pop up. So let's continue to type and watch as the word wrap feature does what it does. So here's what we're typing next. Explore scenic trails with breathtaking views as you travel through meadows, streams, and mountains in an off-road vehicle. That's off-road vehicle. And we put a full stop after that. Let's continue typing. The next line says self-guided tours, and we're going to spell tours wrong on purpose to point out some interesting things. Let's spell tours this way, T-U-O-R-S. Now earlier we were talking about fixing errors, and we mentioned use of backspace key to delete characters to the left and the delete key to delete characters to the right. Otherwise than that, you would have right clicked on this word, the one that needs to be fixed, and you'll notice there's suggestions as to what word might just be the right word. How do you know what word is the right word? Of course, based on the sentence structure and what you're intended to say, you'll pick the word that fits the spot. So here, tours is what I want to select, but before I select it, how do I know what these little squiggly lines really mean? They're red ones, they're green ones, and they're even blue ones. Let me tell you all about those. A red wavy underline, anytime you see one of those, is possibly a spelling error, or it just does not appear in the words dictionary. If you see a green one, it's a grammatical error, and if you see a blue one, it may indicate that the text has some kind of contextual spelling error or the misuse of homophones. Those are words that sound the same but have a different spelling or meaning, and sometimes spacing issues causes the blue ones as well. So the next time you see these wavy underlines, the red one is spelling errors or not in the dictionary, the green ones are grammatical errors, and the blue ones are usually contextual errors. So I'm going to fix this word tours and move on, because the next part of it says self-guided tours available. And let's go on to the next line. Next line says open March through October. Next line says all vehicles and gear provided. And the last line, which they call the signature line, says to book your adventure, call 555-8928 exclamation mark. And that's pretty much it for the typing. There's only one thing to put in. We need an extra space or an extra line right after the word adventure, which I should have done so earlier, so that the picture is going to fit in this space. So we're going to save this file with the name Adventure Flyer. So I either choose save or save as. Now, because it's a new document, if I click save, it's going to open the save as window, and if I click save as, it will open the save as window. But had I not been using a very brand new document, if I click save, I'm just keeping changes, and save as will allow me to change the location, the name, and the file type of that file. So I'm going to call this Adventure Flyer, sorry. Adventure Flyer. Now it's time to do some formatting. Now formatting here refers to how we change up the style of the font and the style of the page and adding color and so on. Now to enhance this document, remember it's a flyer, we want the headline to actually stand out. So adventure needs to be centered, and it needs to be way bigger than it is right now. So I'm going to center it. Guess what? I don't even have to highlight the line to center it. I can put my insertion point in this line, press the center option, and it will do the job just the same. The other line that needs centering is the very last one. And let me fix my error here, to book your adventure. Same thing. Click in the line, center button. Now I want to select a single line of text, just the word adventure. Did you know there are multiple ways to get that one thing done? And I know you know this way. You drag through it. Sure. And you know what dragging is, right? Holding down your left mouse button, placing your insertion point where you want it to be, and in whichever direction, left or right. And once you get to the end, release the mouse button. The next way you probably would do, I hope you know this one, you can actually triple click. Click 3 times quickly, and it will take the entire line, adventure, including the exclamation mark. If you double click, just the word adventure is going to come up. Notice the exclamation mark is kind of hanging there. So triple click is another way. You can do it the old school way, and my insertion point here is beside the A in adventure. I can hold the shift key and use my right arrow key and do it character by character, or I can still use the shift key and use the down arrow key, but it's taking up more than I need. Notice the highlight is in a spot that doesn't belong. I think you should also still be able to hold shift and click right beside the exclamation mark. That does it as well. Oh, and there's this way as well. Have you noticed, or maybe you should start to notice, that normally your pointer points towards the left? Did you know there's a right pointing arrow? Here's the right pointing arrow. Put your mouse into the left margin and you get a right pointing arrow. Notice the direction, left pointing arrow, right pointing arrow, and here's the use of this one. Click once in the margin of the line that you want to select and it will select it. Voila. Now what we want to do with the line adventure is to change the size of the font. This is way too small for a flyer and it needs to stand out. Somebody needs to see it from afar. The size is 72. Doesn't seem big. But can I get something that's not in the list? Sure. I want size 50. I can actually type 50 in the box, hit enter, and it will adjust. And I can even get half sizes. I don't know, maybe 42.5. But I'm going to keep the size 72. As a matter of fact, I can go bigger than 72. If I put 100 in here, it's going to get bigger than the 72 that's in the list. So let's keep the 72 though. And let's make another change to the word adventure. The style of the font. You know, the way the letters curve or twist or lean or stand straight. Size 72 is fine, but the style, we want to change it from Calibri to something called Berlin Sans FB Demi. Now, I have it in my current list, but had you not seen it there, you would have had to scroll down, right? Berlin Sans FB Demi. Otherwise, you can actually type in the beginning letters and it will jump to it. So that's the style we want to change it to. Next thing we want to do is change the case of the text. Now, the only letter that's capitalized right now is the A in adventure. Now, if you didn't know the button I'm about to show you, you'd probably do this. So I want this to be all capital. You'd probably go ahead and take out the common letters, turn on your caps lock, and proceed to type in the rest of the letters. But here's the trick. There's a button for that. Select the text, as you had done before, adventure. And here's the button called the change case button. And when you select that button, you have the option of choosing uppercase, which is what we want. And look at the other options and you see what they do. Uppercase. There we go. Still working on adventure. There's a button here called the text effects and typography button. And we're going to be applying a text effect. It's going to be glowing in a sense. It's called fill white accent 1 glow accent 1. So we're going to choose this one. It's just a special effect to draw interest to the word. Now the only thing is you can't really see it from afar. So we're going to be adding what's called a shading to the background. And when they say shading, that rectangular area that you see highlighting the word adventure is going to have a color. And here's the color we want to put. And here's this shading button. Kind of looks like a bucket of paint. And it's this color green. It's called green accent 6 darker 25%. Okay, that's it for adventure. We'll move on to the next set of text in this document. Let's select multiple lines of text now. These few lines from the word explore to the word provided, and notice I have a preference for using that right pointing arrow, but you can use the other methods. We're simply going to be increasing the size of the font. So we don't want it to be size 11 anymore. We want it to be size 28. Well, that's a correction. Size 24 actually. Size 24. 28 seemed a little big. Size 24. Alright, moving on. These three lines, self-guided tours available, open March through October, and all vehicles and gear provided, need to become a bulleted list. What's a bulleted list? A series of lines that each begin with this bullet character, a little special character that sits at the beginning of the line. And here's that bullets button. And if you click it once, you get some boring black dots. Guess what? You can change those. That arrow beside the bullets button, you can click on that and you have other selections. Now you begin to wonder, Where did I find all of these fancy things, and even in color? Now, I believe your selection has about these in it. How do you get the other kinds that I have sitting here? Here goes. You click on Define New Bullet. You go to Symbol. And I like the set that comes with the webbing. So you scroll down a little, and you have all sorts of fancy looking things in here. All sorts of choices to make. Because we're dealing with adventure, I think this tree and road or trail might be appropriate. So I'm going to click OK. And OK again, just to see how it looks in the document. Oh, how do we add color to it? Going back to that same arrow beside the bullets button. Then I'm going to go back to define new bullet, but not clicking symbol. I'm going over to click on font instead. Here I can choose a color. Let's give it the same color, green, that we've been working on before. And there you go. That's how you choose a new style of bullet and even coloring it. Now, if you make a mistake, there's always the undo button. Remember the quick access toolbar in the previous video? And if you, of course, change your mind again, there's always that redo button. Those actions, these are the buttons for them. The shortcut keys for undo is Control and Z, and the shortcut key for redo is Control and Y. Try those out. To enhance the document some more, we're going to make some text italic. Italicizing text is simply just making the text a little slanted. So the word breathtaking here, we want to make that italic. Here's the italic button. Also, we want to color it a different color so it stands out. And the color here is orange accent 2, darker 25%. Orange accent 2, darker 25%. So that's the color orange that we want it to be. Now, not forgetting the last line of text. Let's select that. This line of text needs to be a little bigger as well. Size 28 should be the size of the font. And also color it the same orange as we did the word breathtaking. Notice we did not have to go looking for it. The font color button had the same color as previously being used. Some more enhancements to the document. We're going to underline the phone numbers only, not including the exclamation mark. And underlining simply puts a line under the text. And Control U is the shortcut for that. And let's bold some text. Bolding here means make it a little darker. And here's the bold button, Control and B. Will do that job for you. And that takes care of the major part of the editing. What we do need to include though is the picture and the border and make some other editing changes. So let's proceed with the changing up of the color scheme or color theme. Did you know that color has different meanings? On page WD31 in the book, you'd find a whole selection of descriptions about different types of color, what they mean. Now, with the click of a button here, let's head off to the Design tab and the Colors button. We're going to mouse, you can put your mouse on Preview. Now just remember there's a gallery, this is a gallery, and this is a live preview that's taking place to see what happens to the document as you put your mouse up and down on these colors. And the one we're choosing here is green. So what we had before was a green background with orange text, and when you choose the style or the theme called green, things change. Now it's more of a turquoise, or I don't know, aqua, some kind of color to that effect, and the rest of the text that was orange is now green. Now how about inserting that picture? It belongs right after the word adventure in the center. Now I'm going to proceed to log into my course page, which is where the picture is. So we must locate it first. And then we'll save it and then insert it. So remember, you're heading to the eLearn website, elearn.abit.edu.ag. Here, you're going to log in as you normally would, and we're going to locate the course and then locate the picture. So here's the course. And here's the picture, mountain trail. Okay, so we need to get this picture into the document. So I'm going to right click on it, save image as, and I suppose I'm going to leave it on the desktop for now. So why didn't we copy and paste? Well, I tried it earlier and I got a very blank spot. I think the copying and pasting option was not working. I don't know if it's working for you. But let's head to the document here. And because we saved it, we have to do it the long way to get the picture in. Insert tab, pictures button, and I put mine on the desktop somewhere, and I'll locate my mountain trail image and then insert it. So there we go. It's supposed to be centered, but we have some enhancements to make to this picture though. Let's talk about resizing it. It's a little small. Now I'm going to change the zoom on this. Here's the zoom button at the bottom of the screen here. I can zoom out a little bit so you can see. Just to see it a little bit more. There's shortcuts to zooming. Hold the control key on your keyboard and roll your finger against the scroll button on your mouse, and you'll get some instant zooming in and out. Okay, so this is what my flyer looks right now. Let's fix that picture. Resizing. Now look closely at the picture. You'll notice some squares are hanging onto the edge. So without selecting the picture, it's just there. But as soon as you click on the picture, there is a selection rectangle. And on this selection rectangle are some sizing handles. That's the name of those little squares. Sizing handles. And that little button hanging on there is the layout options button, which we'll work with another time. So I need to make this picture a little bigger. I'm pointing to this particular sizing handle, the one at the upper right corner, and I'm going to drag, and just estimating how big I want to get it, just about in between that E in adventure. And the next thing we're going to do is apply a style to it. So as it is fine, but let's enhance it some more. A picture style. It's supposed to add some visual appeal. It changes the picture's look, and it's just some variety. Borders, angles, shapes, reflections. Where do you find these things? Now that we're working on this picture, we end up with a tool tab or contextual tab. This one is called the picture tools format tab, and that's where I'm going to head to. Picture tools format. Here's the picture styles gallery, and the one we're looking for is called drop shadow rectangle. Drop shadow rectangle. And when you look at it now a little closer, you should see that shadow hanging on to the right and to the bottom of this picture. Let's do a little bit more to this picture though. Enhance it with a picture effect. Still working on the picture tools format tab. Picture effects is this button to the right of the picture styles gallery that you just came from. And there are a variety of preset options. How do we know which one we want? Okay, we're going to go to glow, and of the glow variations, these things have some long names. Turquoise 5 PT glow, accent color 6. And when you click on that and look at the picture now, you should see that blue glowing border just hanging out at the edge of the picture. One more enhancement. Back to the picture effects button. This time you're going to go to bevel, and we're going to then choose angle. Bevel and then angle. And when you look at the picture now, it seems to have a raised edge all around. That's it for the picture. So let's look at it from a different perspective. So what's missing now? The page border. How do I add a page border to this flyer? And some flyers don't have borders at all. How do you know you need one? Well, if it adds some more visual appeal, let's add a border. So there's a button for that. You can find it on the Design tab. And there's the Page Borders button here. Or, if you were on the Home tab and you looked at the Borders button, you have the same Borders and Shading button here. So whichever way you find it, same thing. So now that we've opened this option, we want to add a page border. And so we have to change the style or the setting to not none, but to box. And you notice it's picking up the first style of a single line. And we're not choosing the single line style. We want a different one. I believe it's one of these dotted lines here. The second one in the list. Now that line would seem like it's rather small, and it is. And we're going to enhance the line. We're going to change the color, and the color of the line is going to be a shade of green. Not very easy to see. It's called Lime Accent 2 Lighter 80%. Lime Accent 2 Lighter 80%. This one is it. And we also are going to enhance it by changing the thickness of the line. So it's so thin and so light. They made it thicker, that's the width, by choosing 4.5 pt. Now if you had a different type of flyer that needed more graphic appeal, you could have chosen an art border. There's a long list of those that you could select from. But for our purposes, we'll stick with the one we've chosen. So I'm going to click on OK. Now, looking a little closer, I'm zooming back in. You'll notice that the dotted line is now on the page, and that is our page border. Now, before the chapter comes to an end, we talk about a few things. Sometimes you might have to correct errors in your document, and there are three types of changes that you might just need to make. There are additions, like additional words and sentences and paragraphs. You might make deletions, maybe something needs to be removed completely from your document. And modifications, maybe there's a slight change that might affect your document. So if I want to insert a word, here's what I'll do. I'll put my insertion point beside the S in trails. And I want to put in the word today, and I'll type space TODAY, today. Now what's happening to the rest of the text is that text gets pushed across to the right while I'm typing. Now all along you've been working in what's called insert mode. And if you look at my status bar, there's the insert button here. Text is inserted and it's pushed across to the right. Now if I switch this over to the other mode, which is called overtype, and I'm going to remove the word today and do this all over again in overtype mode. Look at the status bar, it's overtype now, and you'll see what happens. What's happening? I just put in the word overtype and it's literally seemingly eating away at the text I have. Overtype mode is deleting as you type. So this is not our intention, at least not in this case. And I'm going to switch it back over to insert mode. So how do I get that down in my status bar? Right click on your status bar and you get a long list of things that are already active, and guess what? insert overtype is an option, and when you click on it, it will join the status bar. And you to toggle between the two is a matter of clicking on it once it's in the status bar. Now, what if I had to move some text around? Let's say this last line that says, well, the last line of the bullet says all vehicles and gear provided would better read in a different position in the bulleted list. Maybe it needs to be this in the second position instead of the third. Now, one way to do this is to cut it and then paste it. So here's the cut button on the home tab, and putting my insertion point beside the O in open, I can use the paste button, and I would have moved that line. Now there's the other way. Did you know that you can, yes, highlight the line and point at the line and drag it, and look, if you look at there's a line that's following the mouse pointer. I'm still holding my mouse button down, and I want to move this line to the new position here beside the O in open. As soon as I release my mouse button, that line should move. So the two methods would be cut and paste, which you saw earlier, and drag and drop, which you saw last. Two methods for moving text around. Now what if you want to print this? Because we're pretty much finished with the document more or less. What if you want to print this? Even though most people would say go green and view your document in its electronic form and email it and publish it on a website, some do need to print. So file and print should give you a preview as to what it's going to look like when it comes out of the printer. Of course, based on the settings of your printer, you would know how and what to choose in terms of how many pages and how you want to print and how you want to turn the pages. Now the last thing we're going to do now is to look at something called read mode. So if you're composing a document and you can actually switch to read mode, it will hide the ribbon and all of the other writing tools so that more of the content fits on the page, and it makes reading of your document a lot easier. So where's this read mode thing? Look in your status bar, and there's the read mode option, and you'll see what we mean. The ribbon is gone, all the additional tools are gone, and this is better for viewing and reading the document. You have arrows to go across to see in a larger view what your document actually looks like. Guess what? This is the end of this flyer. How do we get back? You can click the view button or the view tab and click edit document, and it goes back into edit mode. So here's the document as you have completed from beginning to end, the adventure flyer. Now when you get to class, of course, you'll learn some more tricks and tips as you practice how to use these key features in Microsoft Office Word 2013. See you next time.